Hey guys, in this video we're going to look at the difference between intuition and dreams. Now this video is structured more like how those two things work together and how they help each other in the development of one, the other is developed as well. More so than this is good for this is good for this, use this one or this one. It's actually really, the idea in our life is to unify and find ways to adapt everything and use it together, because practically those are the best results that we're going to have, period. And the longer we do it, the more things we are going to discover, develop, need to adapt, work on, etc. And we're going to have even better results. That's pretty much going up. So have that in mind. Now for starters, where do I want us to begin? Let's look at intuition. Intuition is the thing that we believe in 100%, but we don't know how to use. Dreams are something that we have 100% of the time, but we don't believe in. And still, we do know that they have some kind of information that might be useful and that they can predict the future. There's no proof, nobody can say why or how, but we all know that they have that ability. Also, they have been used before, way back in time, to interpret and predict the future. And they have been thought of as messages from the gods. So it is in some way an intuition, because where does the intuition come from? We don't know, but we know that it's 100% true. The truth is that actually when we receive an intuitive message, it's actually that we're so relaxed, so open-minded, and so in synchronization with what's happening around us, that a little tiny bit of information is able to enter us, and we're able to see what's actually happening, and we're able to predict what's going to happen. But usually the problem is that we don't have the habits to actually react fast enough so that we can do something with that information, and we usually just let everything go, and we're stuck with just being happy that we could see that and wonder, where does the intuition come from? How do we use it? How can it be so true every time, etc, etc. Well, this is where dreams come in, because we actually don't make sense of them until we interpret them. And while we're interpreting them, we're actually able to receive a better understanding, or to develop a better understanding of what our mindset is, how our way of thinking works. And this is actually a direct connection and helpful lesson for us to interpret intuition. Why? Because intuition is 100% belief in something that's going to happen. And when it's 100%, it actually happens. That's how the system works. Now, we're taught to see in order to believe, but think about that, for us to believe, we're going to start looking for proof, confirming the proof, believing in the proof, confirming that the proof is actually proof, and then at some point deciding that we can believe that's true. So again, we have to believe it. We start believing in it. So why don't we just push the process and start believing and see how it is? And it's always been like that. If you actually have your mindset and you look at and you decide to change it, you'll actually see, and by that I really mean change it, you actually believe in the new mindset, you will actually be able to see how everything else, no matter how opposite it was in our previous belief system, in our new belief system, everything is rearranging and is actually confirming what we believe. Usually, if we're not prone to believe in that mindset that just changing beliefs changes everything, we just say that it can be looked at from that perspective as well. but it's still true. And if we accept it, if we believe in it, we can push it even farther than that. And that's the idea here. So if we start believing in something, it's going to become true. And that's actually our ability to see that our belief is being manifested, and our excitement is actually an expression of intuition, because we believe that much in it that we actually have a specific perspective aligned in a specific sentence or type of information, that if we see that exact expression, we're going to say that it's a message. But it's actually a developed idea that we've been striving towards and we believe in. Okay, but that doesn't actually help us to get intuitive thoughts and messages. So how do we know that it's intuitive? Let's look at the dreams. Those are the things that we have every night, but we don't believe in. Right? So let's turn it around. Let's look into them. Let's forward their interpretations and check how true they are. That, in a sense, as we said, is going to give us a good enough perspective and understanding of what our mindset is, so that we can be ready when we receive the intuitive information. And since we've already have some experience with the dream interpretations, and if we're decisive on acting on the information, we will develop the habit to act on it whenever we hear it intuitively. Because to be fair, intuition and dreams, they don't really differentiate except for the states that we receive them in. Intuition is when we're awake, dreams is when we're asleep. But again, when we're awake and when we dream, our brain has the same level of activity. So in a way, it's the same. Also, it confirms the idea that our brain doesn't make a difference between real and imaginary. Imaginary thoughts, imaginary experiences. They're all interpreted by the brain the same way that we usually experience the world around ourselves. So this is actually where we can move in meditation as well, but that's for another video. And if you actually want to see how the channel is going to develop, subscribe to the channel so that you can keep an eye out for those videos. The best thing about both dreams and intuition is whichever we listen to, it actually helps us develop a new mindset and way of thinking, as well as our practical actions are going to change. Because the information is different every time, the idea might be the same, but the expression, the event in which it's happening, everything is different. So in a way, there actually are wormholes into another world outside of our comfort zone. And to be fair, we might not like coming out of our comfort zone, but at one point, if we are true to our following of either intuition, meditation, dreams, it doesn't really matter which, we're going to find excitement, passion, and inspiration to use in every single situation. We're going to actually start looking for ideas that can inspire us to do things that we usually don't like. And this is how intuition and dreams can help us, because they actually give us a new perspective, a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things that actually can excite us. And since their specific message for us is the exact thing that we usually would be looking for or would want to do, since it's focused on ourselves. And let's put it this way. One thing that I've noticed and I don't like in the intuitive messages is that there's too little time for us to rethink, or we don't have the habit of reassembling the information that we've just received, and we actually have to act kind of fast in order to catch the moment. And that usually makes us, since we've developed the habit of doing it, it makes us direct our thoughts of a problem towards somebody in our environment. Whereas in dreams, we can actually see that we're the ones that are having the problem. It's not that specific person. And the good thing about dreams is that we have that specific time to reassemble, rethink that the interpretation, the information, and our personal way of thinking, so that we can rearrange the day or the event or whatever it is in a way that we would find more productive or beneficial, whatever it is. Whereas when we receive the intuitive information, we actually almost have to act immediately. It's not in every case. Sometimes when we think that we need a little more time, we do actually have that time and we can reassemble that information. But the idea is that the intuitive messages are best to act at the moment. So the huge minus that I see in the intuitive messages is that we focus the problems that they explore on somebody else instead of ourselves. And that in me, it was a huge problem because I had so many asynchronistic experiences with my environment because I couldn't figure out what's the problem. And what I figured out was that I was the one experiencing that specific thing as a problem, whereas the person that I'm blaming actually sees it as something normal. And it's actually the clash between the two perspectives that creates the problem, especially me, since I'm the one that's focusing on that specific thing as a problem. Again, if we want to change something, we have to believe that it is something different than a problem. And even if we redefine the word problem, that still works, because problem is something that we're looking for a solution. Problems are everything that a software developer does. So he solves problems. And problems in that sense, they're just tasks that need their resolution or solutions found. And that's it. And from that perspective, problems receive a whole new meaning. They could be just the things that we're looking at currently in order to find out something else. Or we have developed a specific problem in order to provoke ourselves to find something else. Or we're looking for something and we know that it's there. And the problem is the thing that we need to reevaluate, readapt. And then we can see how synchronistic it is with the ideas that we have. That's practically the big minus that I wanted to share with you in what I see with our practice regarding intuition. About dreams, it's overthinking. So with intuition, I just mentioned that we don't have enough time to think. With dreams, it's that we might actually have enough time. Because mostly if we are scared, we don't want to interpret it correctly, we just want to see a pink world where everything is okay, we are most probable to invert the information into something that isn't really useful, we can't practically use. And even in the cases where we're scared, we're just going to strive towards going around the problem. And we're going to develop such an interpretation that makes sense to us, but doesn't really help us. And the idea here is to think in the moment and accept whatever it is. This is how actually combining how we combine both. By interpreting dreams, we actually develop the habit of thinking and reassembling the information when we receive an intuitive message. But our accepting the intuitive messages helps us more clearly and quicker interpret our dreams. Because, and you should know this, when we're half asleep when we get up, or when we just wake up but we're still in between both worlds, it's actually a different kind of experience. Our thoughts are different, and you can actually feel them as tangible. And this is interesting, right? How is that feeling? What is that feeling? It's actually intuition, because we're awake now. And the connection is still there. And like we mentioned, intuition, dreams, meditation, it's all the same. It's just a different way of receiving information. It's just a different expression of us receiving information. And the idea here is that if we open ourselves enough to accept intuitive information, we'll be able to adapt and interpret the dreams that much quicker. And they actually both help each other. It's always been that way. I actually couldn't believe it in the beginning because dreams were something boring to me. It took me probably half an hour, sometimes more, depending on how many dreams I have, to write them down, to give them their titles, to interpret them, to see the interpretation, to think about what they are. It actually took me a lot of time. But once I started using intuition to interpret my dreams, it became a lot faster. As well as the messages just started coming. And that helped me realize what the difference is and how different less they are. Again, both can develop a new type of mindset, belief system for ourselves that can be more beneficial to us in the moment. And it's important to do this often in order to be synchronistic with the environment around ourselves, because we always have interactions with something. Regardless if it's a chair, t-shirt, it doesn't really matter. A video, it doesn't really matter. It's still an interaction. Interaction. An action between all of us. Everything around us. So, and since everything changes, we're going to need to be kept up to date with the information in order to get what's actually happening. Now, we can of course use our belief to change how things are, but that's a story for another video. And if you're interested to know how we can interpret our dreams, there's already videos in this channel and with explanations and an exercise that you can use for interpreting. Now, if you think this video is useful, of course, please and do share it with other people so that we can help them learn and compare intuition and dreams, so that we can help them together. And for now, this is it. I'll be leaving you until next time.